Sharing. Okay, but you guys, now I have to do, right, hold on. Da, 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 da. Okay, cool. Hey, everybody, I'm Liz Sevcenko. I'm co-director of the Humanities in Action Lab along with my colleague Regina Campbell, who's on the call and just came back from an incredible trip. Out of the country. And so I'm going to take this one for the team, but she can add things in the chat or answer questions. So please feel free to call on her. So I'm going to introduce what the Humanities Action Lab is and a little bit about our approach to community engaged teaching and some implications of it for Hunter. We're brand new to Hunter. And, so we wanted to learn a little bit from all of you and hoping that you might be able to share in the chat just kind of where you're at with community engaged teaching. We're really, because we're new, trying to learn as much as possible what people are already doing and what kind of questions they have so that we can best connect our work. So I just invite you, and it would be really helpful. Those of you who have been doing this, what have you found works well? And those of you who, or either way, just like what are the questions or challenges that you're bringing to this meeting? So we can return to this at the end if we have time. But in the meantime, I hope you'll just start the conversation in the chat. The Humanities Action Lab is a translocal project. That means that we are a coalition of campus community partnerships in cities all across the country and in all across the hemisphere. And we bring together universities, issue like community organizations and public spaces to create collective public memory projects around urgent social issues. So we'll explain how this works in a moment. But I was realizing that for a conversation like this, it's important to understand like or talk about like what's driving our community engaged teaching. And so we're really trying to ask the question, the reason that we're doing this is how can universities and communities collaborate to address the issues that we face together, the things we have a shared concern about. So the way the Humanities Action Lab works is that our sort of whole collective identifies issues of shared concern, whether that's climate justice, mass incarceration, urban renewal, and then partners across in each community come together to kind of address that issue locally. So we have, again, colleges and universities who teach a course in collaboration with an issue organization and create a kind of local multimedia portrait of their community's experience with a shared issue that gets shown in a local public space. And we really like to emphasize that these are not really so much institutional collaborations. What really makes this community work is that it's building relationships among individuals, among students and faculty and community leaders that like get to know each other and build strong relationships. And these relationships are local, but there are these teams that are working together in conversation in communities across the country. And so we also facilitate exchange of knowledge, a sense of solidarity, and actual collective action across the collaboration. So the collaborations are happening both locally and translocally the whole time. We're brand new to Hunter. And so we're really eager to learn about ways to connect with your all's work and learn from it, and most especially connect your local work with this translocal national coalition. So that is a QR code that links to like our little page of different ways that you can get involved, and we can talk about that later too, but I just wanted to share that. I realized it was really important to clarify kind of what when we say community, what we're talking about. So we have been invited to be part of the strategic planning committee run by the provost and the president as on the committee about community engagement. And one of the things we were asked to do is define what we mean by community, because I think it means different things to different people, and all of it is okay. But just to explain, the community engagement strategic plan, like for the purposes of the strategic plan and this about Anchor Institution, the way the committee has defined community is people who are unaffiliated with Hunter College, who have a shared stake, who share concerns or have a shared stake in the issues of faculty and the Hunter community. Those shared stakes can come from a geographic, from where they live, because they live in the neighborhoods that Hunter campuses are in, or they live in neighborhoods that students also come from and live in, and where the students' families and communities are, or the shared stakes can be around issues, that there are people who are engaged, who are impacted by the same issues that faculty and students are impacted by, and are engaged in addressing these shared concerns. And the important thing is that while there is a difference if you are affiliated with Hunter College or not, of course, these are porous boundaries, and students and faculty are all part of these communities, even as they are affiliated with Hunter College. So that's just sort of to set the stage. I'll explain how one community engaged, examples of community engaged teaching through one of our projects to give a little meat on the bones. One of our projects is called Climates of Inequality. It's looking at histories of environmental racism and their impact on local frontline communities' experiences of climate change. So again, these are all across the country. Students are collaborating with environmental justice organizations to do a wide variety of types of research. Some of that research is literally looking at and measuring the soil, the contents of the soil beneath their feet, and understanding the toxicity and the social history behind the toxins that they're finding in the soil beneath their feet. They then are interviewing the different generations of advocates who have built resistance to build movements against environmental racism and really learn from them. So doing kind of oral histories, looking in archives to look at longer histories of how communities have organized and resisted, and then understanding the issues that are that they can get involved in today and get involved with those issues. So again, those are happening locally, but then in each of the teams, we facilitate translocal collaborations in the form of actually flying people to visit each other and engage and learn from each other on site, and having convenings like the one that we had a few weeks ago that bring people together to really share their experiences and develop shared projects. At the end of all of these, or through all of these kinds of engagements, each local team produces what we call a local story. It's a multimedia portrait about that tells the story of their community, that we then put together into a collective traveling installation that places all the stories in conversation with each other. This also exists on a web platform, and then with both of which travel to each of the communities that created it, and have very different lives and stagings and sort of local actions that take place in each location. So it's been to a couple more cities since this slide was created, but as you can see, it's just been all over the country and traveling consistently for the last many years, and is continuing to as well. The other project that I wanted to call attention to, because the exhibition is at Hunter right now and is a great resource for everybody here, is States of Incarceration. If you have any questions about that, please ask Regina. She is the director of this project. And it, like Climates of Inequality, was created by over 1,000 students and people directly impacted by the criminal legal system across the country. And in each of these localities, there were partnerships of different types. And I just wanted to use this as an example of talking about the different forms that collaboration can take, and that of varying kind of levels of depth. And we can talk about that a little bit later. And again, they each kind of created one local story and stories for a web platform. But the main thing that I want to get to that traveled all around in the time that we have left, the main thing I want you to know is that it's now in the Cooperman Library. And there's educator guides available. There's student docents who can bring your students on a tour. There are various kinds of interactive experiences, and all of these were created through community engaged teaching projects. I hope that everybody will take a minute to look at the values and the strategies that we use in our community engaged teaching. There's a QR code there, and that you can dig deeper into this. But telling our own stories to our own audiences and making public memory participatory and being guided by the voices and the priorities of communities are really important, like, and very articulated, intentional practices that we have for when we say community engaged teaching. We can talk about the impact later. I hope that you'll also take advantage of our Peer Resource Center. There's lots of great material there, including, something that, again, I think is important in terms of like really being intentional and specific about what you mean by community partnership, that there's like different levels of community partnership and all of them are fine, but it's important to be clear about whether you're asking your partner to be more like an informer or more of a decider. And there's different goals and different sort of outcomes of each of those. So again, we hope that you'll connect through the chat or through more conversation with the resources that we have, and hope to get to know all of you more moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liz. That was amazing. I love, love, love. And if you haven't seen States of Incarceration, it's so impactful. So thank you so much, Liz. Thanks for telling us all that Hal is doing. It's incredible. It's like really incredible. And I like screenshotted your values piece too. Amazing. Thank you. Annie, CUNY Climate Project.
Awesome. Thank you guys all for having me today. I anticipate that my internet here at Queens College is a little bit sketchy, so I am so sorry if I cut out, and please just ask me to repeat anything that maybe doesn't come through because of the Wi-Fi over here in Queens. Um, so I just wanted to share a little bit about a project that we're doing jointly between Hunter College and the Graduate Center. It's called the CUNY Climate Assembly Project, and it's meant to bring an innovative, really grassroots way of doing democracy to Hunter College. And by doing this, we'll be the first climate assembly to happen at a university in the United States. So it's really exciting, and all of our Hunter partners have been wonderful in terms of making this come to fruition. Last Friday, we actually had a public lottery event where we drew 42 names of Hunter students who will be our climate delegates in the assembly that begins at the beginning of April and runs through the beginning of June. So really today to talk a little bit about some of our supplementary activities that are meant to expect and reach folks who are not necessarily participating directly as delegates in the assembly project. So what that looks like is, a couple of different initiatives. But what I've been working on is basically different classrooms, student disciplines. So we have been working in terms of planning, in terms of putting this project together with a lot of folks from administration and a lot of folks from the Geography and Environmental Studies department at Hunter College. So I feel really lucky to talk to you folks today because I think you represent a different cohort, and I am trying to make these as useful for faculty as possible. So any feedback that you guys can give me is very, very much welcome. So, as I said, I'm in charge of looking to broaden the impact of the climate assembly beyond just the assembly itself. So we're organizing public forums, we're organizing outreach events, we're organizing like miniature versions of the assembly that we can conduct with interested students over the course of the semester. And then what I want to talk to you mostly about today is this curriculum that we're developing for Hunter faculty and their students. So the idea is that they are meant to be easy, easy, easy. So if any instructor is interested in using these in their class, you can choose an activity that seems to align with your curriculum, seems to align with the interests of your students. And if you only have 15 minutes to devote to this, that's great. I have a really short 15-minute lesson plan. If you have a little bit more time, I have a 45-minute lesson plan. And then if you wanted to dive all the way in and actually do a model assembly with your students, I have a 90-minute activity that walks you through how to do that with the students. So the first one is on the circular economy, and this lesson plan really came to be based on some of the feedback I got from our stakeholders at Hunter that the circular economy is something that we all need to be thinking about going through the 21st century. And a lot of students don't necessarily know what this concept is and haven't practiced it in their real lives. So this little bite-sized lesson is meant to have students reflect upon the ultimate destinations of commonly discarded items and think really critically about if there are ways to divert these items from landfills or maybe not use them in the first place. The second lesson I've been working on is kind of a critical evaluation of waste management as students see it at Hunter. So the beginning activity for this one is that students go out on a little field trip around the department and investigate what they see in different kinds of bins. On the floor, on the department. They come back with those observations, and we kind of think together critically as a class. Have students been sorting items correctly? If not, do we see any patterns in the items that they're not sorting correctly? And can we think critically about how we might be able to lower some of the obstacles for correct sorting of different items on Hunter campus? And then finally, as I mentioned, the largest or the longest activity is a miniature civic assembly on waste management. So in this one, students are participating as delegates in a miniature assembly, and they're debating three big strategies that might improve waste management at Hunter. One is very much an individual level, kind of behavior change and sensitization. One is a little bit more structural and has buy-in from, staff, faculty. And then one is even larger and involves looking at community members and how they, outside of Hunter campus, can be part of this movement to manage waste more efficiently on Hunter's campus. So what I'm looking for, I guess, in the next week or so, if you guys have any feedback, is just how does this sound? Like most of you, I imagine, are not teaching political science or environmental science classes. Do these lessons seem like they could have a place in a course that you were teaching? And I know the last time that I talked with ACERT, we mentioned accessibility. So I also really want to make sure that the resources I'm producing are accessible to lots of different types of learners, especially those who may need, subtitles, way to learn. And then the actual lesson plans that you guys are freely welcome to and encouraged to use are going to roll out on this coming Monday. So about 7 days from today. And yeah, and they'll be available, and there's tons of feedback forms that I would love you guys to give me any idea on how they went. Again, I'm just trying to make this very user friendly. So the lesson plans are probably going to live on a web page controlled by the Center for the Humanities at the Graduate Center, because they're the ones managing the big budget of this project. And there will be a blurb, much like the one that you see right here, kind of describing what is this Climate Assembly project. You know, it's a way to involve students in a democratic initiative. It's a way to empower them. It's a way to bring trust back to the political system. But it's also a way to think really critically about waste management, which is a real issue, not just at Hunter, but all across New York City. And one of the reasons that we've harped on this is because there's actually a state executive order requiring all public institutions like CUNY to develop waste diversion plans. So we're really focusing in on this with the intention of moving forward on a very topical kind of mandatory issue that's coming from the state. This is not to put anybody off. The lesson plans are going to be found behind a short Google survey track of who is using the lesson plans and have a way to contact them in the future. It's really not meant to be a barrier. And I've been kind of fighting with my team every time they try to add additional questions to this questionnaire. I'm like, no, let's keep it really, really simple. We don't want to like scare people away from using these resources. So as it's written now, it only asks for your name, your email, and which of the 3 lesson plans you're planning to use. And there's an option for I don't know yet. And then once you get there, you'll have the write-up for each of these 3 lesson plans, including an activity summary for each one, learning objectives, materials, any prep that the teacher would have to do beforehand so that nothing comes up and surprises you. And then links, which I'll open here, links to slide decks, which are meant to accompany these lessons and kind of walk you through some of the important pieces of each of these topic areas. So I'm not sure why this is not loading. I think it's probably Queens College Wi-Fi again, striking back. But yeah, these are meant to be really, really easily usable. So they start with the activity summary. They go through the learning objectives. There's a quick agenda so students know what's going to happen. And then there are slides that the teachers can use. In this case, we're going to add an item that they've thrown out this week. We'll collect those answers. So here, the teacher has a place to put that QR code, open up the word cloud, and then be able to share the responses back. And then, yeah, some principal ideas on what is the circular economy. And I'll add text in the comment space so that teachers also don't have to go and do their own background research if this isn't the topic that they're most comfortable with. It'll have bullet points that are meant to be mentioned to students. So what is the difference between a linear economy versus a circular economy? This circular waste hierarchy diagram, right? So it's not just about recycling. A lot of it is about rejecting things we don't need in the first place, right? And fixing things. And then recycling is actually pretty low on this hierarchy of wasting and then circulating through the system. So I have PowerPoint decks like this for each of the 3 activities that I'm developing. And I imagine that there will be a way to follow up with those of you here today after this meeting. But I also encourage you, I'll leave my contact information with ACERT if you'd like to reach out to me directly. But yeah, that will involve Hunter in a much larger community effort, right? This is coming from the state. It's something that we think about citywide. And Hunter, for those of you that don't know, is actually like way ahead of the curve in terms of its waste management strategies. So it's really exciting to be working with stakeholders who are as invested with this issue. And again, the more that we can kind of spread this and involve folks who aren't even directly participating in the assembly, I think the bigger the impact this project is hopefully going to have. So that's my spiel.
Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you. You have a question from Liz, and then I think someone else had a question. So if you want to take Liz's question, it's in the chat.
Awesome. Is this done in collaboration with any outside organizations, or is it mostly a way to invite students to think about how community members could be engaged? Yeah, that's a great question. So the only collaboration we have from outside is the funding that we've gotten from the Mellon Foundation. And beyond that, it's mostly meant to be a Hunter initiative. We do have some students from the Graduate Center coming in to facilitate small group conversations during the assembly to make sure that everything kind of goes smoothly. But as I said, the recommendations that the assembly comes up with, we're kind of trying to be super hands-off about it. We don't know what they're going to suggest in terms of the best way to combat Hunter's waste footprints. They could suggest going outside the community. They could suggest collaborating with other CUNY campuses. They could suggest trying to make better deals with vendors, right? So that there's more producer responsibility in terms of some of the things that we're utilizing on campus. So that's kind of an open question right now. Sorry, these lights are on a timer. That's kind of an open question right now, but it's a great one. I mean, in terms of the participants, yes, it's focused on CUNY, but in terms of who we bring in as partners, it could go broader than that.
Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you. And tell us how to reach you in the chat
I
too.
will, yes. Please do reach out to me. I'd be really over the moon to work with any of you that are interested.
Awesome. Thank you. Julianne from CSEL.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Julianne Hallett, and I am the program manager for the Collaborative for Social Emotional Learning and Leading, CSEL, at Hunter College. And I'm really, really happy to be here in community with you all today. And a big, big thanks to ACERT for finding some time for me to jump in here and share a really wonderful new faculty fellowship experience that we're offering at CSEL at Hunter starting this summer. But before I share the opportunity, I just wanted to quickly share a quick overview of CSEL and what we do. And in the chat, I'm just going to place our website quick. So at CSEL, CSEL was created to support educators in cultivating inner and outer conditions that are necessary for systems level change. You know, especially at a time like this where we're all navigating really deep societal fractures and personal burnout. I see that a lot within the work we do at CSEL. And CSEL is offering this transformative model rooted in love, community, and a deep commitment to belonging. So our mission is really to create agents of change across the educational ecosystem, from K through 12 to higher ed. So currently this year, we're working with 5 New York City-based schools, some of which are public, independent, and charter. So a really big range there, where we create intergenerational councils that are co-creating cultures where students, teachers, leaders, everyone within the school, paraprofessionals, we always encourage different types of people to really work together through equity-driven practices so that everyone feels seen and heard. We're also working with School of Education, faculty, and staff with our SEL Fellowship, where we explore what it can look like to create a beloved community through conscious communication, heart-centered dialogue, and care. Simply, CSEL is really just like a relational ecosystem. We draw from neuroscience, transformative SEL, and equity-centered design. And today I'm here to invite you all into this powerful faculty fellowship opportunity that we're really, really excited about. I'm going to share the flyer in the chat as well. So this new fellowship we're offering is starting this summer. It's the Hunter College Faculty Community Engagement Fellowship, and it's a half-year commitment that's designed to strengthen faculty understanding of community and cultivate interdepartmental collaboration while fostering meaningful partnerships within New York City's arts and cultural institutions. So by the end of the fellowship, we hope fellows will walk away with deepening your own self-awareness and relational capacity, building real connections across departments, mapping partnership opportunities across New York City, designing and implementing community engaged and art-based component in teaching or scholarship, and strengthening Hunter's role as an anchor institution. And really, honestly, what we hope everyone walks away with is a renewed sense of possibility, and really thinking about what we can achieve when we co-create through the vast cultural landscape of New York City and Hunter College. So this inaugural cohort will consist of 10 faculty members, with ideally 2 from each of Hunter's schools. Each fellow is going to receive a $2,000 stipend, but more importantly than that, it really offers this opportunity to reimagine what it means to be in higher education and feel a deeper sense of belonging within Hunter and within these spaces outside of Hunter in our community. So what the fellowship looks like, it's going to consist of a 6-week immersive experience in the summer in June. So there's a full day opening retreat that's building on self-awareness and trust, relational trust amongst all the fellows. Contemplative practices, storytelling, applied theater, a lot of arts-based activities, and a little bit of movement. So for our weeks, our middle weeks of June, there's going to be the immersive experience within these cultural institutions where we're going to explore different dimensions of belonging. For instance, we're going to work with the Tenement Museum, where we're exploring story of place, migration, housing, and identity. We're planning on working with the Museum of Moving Image. We're examining story of representation through film and digital media, along with Pink Fang Theater, which is really exciting, using performance and embodied storytelling as a tool for social connection and healing. Our last week of the summer retreat will be a full day, 1-day retreat where we're going to synthesize these insights and help fellows to develop a fall community implementation plan where we invite fellows to revise syllabi, programs, or research, embedding this community engagement and arts work that we did throughout the month of June. In fall, we are through September through December having an implementation period where fellows will pilot and expand those projects, participating in 3 Zoom check-ins, where we're going to have some peer coaching and shared learning along with other guest speakers as well, from artists and different community organizers and members. In winter 2027, which is the end of the fellowship, which is a half year, it kind of goes quite fast. Just thinking about it that way, it's really quite fast. But in January, fellows will present their work to senior college leadership, and we ask them to invite 2 to 3 community partners to co-present that they worked with throughout the summer and the fall months. This really models an authentic partnership, shared storytelling, and belonging in action as well. So closing, I'm just going to share this little reflection with you all. What would it mean for us to fully embrace Hunter College's role as an anchor institution? Not just serving community, but learning with and from community. What would it look like if our classrooms became spaces of co-creation? If scholarship and artistry were inseparable? If belonging was not an initiative, but really a way of being and feeling? So this fellowship is really an invitation into that possibility. If you feel called to deepen this practice, expand partnership, and build beloved community across Hunter, I would gladly invite you to attend our information session, which is next week on Thursday, March 12th at 11 a.m. via Zoom. The flyer I shared has a QR code, and I'm also going to share quickly the registration link in the chat right now. But I thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing those of you interested at the info session next week. The session, just a quick overview, is where myself, along with Janika Parker-Tung, who is the director of CCEL, are going to have time for more in-depth conversation, talking about dates, logistics, things like that, and a deeper Q&A for any questions you might have. I'll also share my email in the chat quickly, so if you have any direct questions, you can definitely email me as well. But thanks so much.
Amazing. Thank you, Julianne. As a CSEL faculty fellow former, it's an amazing, amazing program. So if you're
Thank you.
interested, do contact Julianne. It's incredible. I think we'll open it up to questions. So any questions for Humanities Action Lab, for CUNY Climate, for CSEL? I'm a teacher, so I wait like so long for questions. Any comments? Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you, presenters. Thank you for all you do for Hunter. We so appreciate you. We're so thrilled that you're here. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Enjoy some found time, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.